time has come to say civilization such a bad word. Good or bad, that's what it's so.
비 오는 날 공중전 앞에 우두커니 서 있다가 보라색 우산으로 얼굴을 가린 사내를 만나게 된다면 난 당신이 텔레비전과 친해지길 권하고 싶다. 텔레비전은 시계이자 달력이고 학교고 집이고 교회며 친구이자 애인이다.
So,
The world pool of information, constantly pouring in on your closely knit family, is influencing them a lot more than you think.
what is media?
Yeah. There's things that people typically think of as media. The TV, the internet,
Radio,
all that kind of stuff.
MTV.
But I mean, a medium could be anything really. It could be technology that conveys an idea is media.
Where does the term media come from? Where does it originate?
From Latin media, feminine normative of medius, middle.
When you think about middle and you think about epistemology, it's in between, the spiritual and the physical, and medium typically, it was referred to in a lot of like spiritual practices. You have your
you have the word
medium
medium, as like a spiritual medium, being like a connection between the tangible physical world and the immaterial spiritual sort of world.
It's a term that gets thrown around a lot these days. Media.
It is,
Media.
You've got all this media.
Social media.
The unintended consequences of a network when it grows to 1 billion or 2 billion people, it literally changes your relationship with society.
So there's, media's pretty big part of people's lives these days. Mr. Gutman in January of this year says 489 minutes time spent per day with digital media in the U.S. That's like 8 hours. So that like people are spending like a large chunk of their waking hours
engrossed in
a digital space. It's a pretty astronomical figure here, considering that it is fiction.
Well, I assume when it says media, I mean it's going to mostly be digital these days. It doesn't all have to be though. But
that's right. I mean, if all you did was read books all the time and didn't like do anything else, then that would be sort of a failure of balance.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
Every piece of media is a simulacrum of the real world, and they can be useful. You can use them to study the world around you, to learn, new ideas and gather information and knowledge and data and whatever else, But media, like everything in this world, it's a little tool. It's a tool that you have to use. And if you're just using it without any idea of how to operate it, you wouldn't trust Joe Schmo off the street eating Dunkin' Donuts all day. You wouldn't trust him to hop in a big skyrise crane and carry around multi-ton equipment, and bring it up to the high-rise where they're building the next Cyberdyne Incorporated tower, for corporate technocratic overlords.
What we propose to do is not to control content, but to create context.
Digital society furthers human flaws and selectively rewards development of convenient half-truths.
It's a matter of being intelligent about your use of media, thinking when you're involving yourself with media.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting too that there are different ways, there are different levels of understanding media. How many people really understand how their computer works? But beyond that, there's also the psychological, spiritual side. How does that affect the mind?
Your reality is already half video hallucination. If you're not careful, it will become total hallucination.
And that's another thing too, is like there's an important separation I think that should be made too between the technology itself and how it's used. If you're trying to be conscious about media, I mean, I suppose you could go live in a cabin in the woods like Uncle Ted, but for me personally, I don't think the technology itself is inherently bad. It's just the ways that people use it. They use it in really frivolous ways that they don't think about the ways that it's impacting them. Or if they do, they don't act upon those thoughts at the very least.
When you choose to engage in media, which in really throughout all of history, but especially now in modern times, as it were, you can't just really not engage with media. It's nearly impossible if you want to be a functioning member of society.
Yeah.
So, and even if you don't, like you were saying, if you want to go live in a cabin in the woods or whatever, just fuck off somewhere and do your own thing, you're still going to be engaging with media in the traditional sense. I mean, everything, a tool like an axe, that's technically a form of media.
Yeah, you can't. Man's destiny is inherently tied to technology. That's just how it is. It's not something that you're going to be able to escape from and survive and thrive. If anything, I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice not to engage with technology. It's just important that when you do it, you think about it.
Listen to me. Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. But you people sit there day after day, night after night, all ages, colors, creeds. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like a tube. You eat like a tube. You raise your children like a tube. You even think like a tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Just